Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to DHOpen 2014. This is going on hour 13, and you bet your ass I'm wearing a Snuggie. I want to be comfortable at this point. This is a best of 3 currently underway for, I think it was group, oh gosh, was it L? Let me go confirm this real quick. Yes, we are currently casting group L. The loser of this will be out of the tournament, sadly. And we'll see if one of these guys can rock and roll, make it to the ace match, and take on either MMA or Showtime. For now, though, we focus on the match at hand and spawn here in the bottom left corner of Frost. From Team Property, it is Starnan. His opponent at the top left. I knew he liked mech, but I didn't realize that he liked mech that much. It is from Alien Invasion, my green Terran friend, Lillekanin. So I've seen this guy do a lot of crazy stuff, honestly. And in the lobby, I kind of made a joke like, yo, I thought I was casting Lillekanin versus Starnan, not Goody versus Starnan. I think the bottom line here is, though, like, mech is one of those builds that you're really not used to seeing. You know, it's the reason cheeses work on a lot of pro players. If they're not used to playing against it, like, you might come against someone like, let's say, I'm just going to pick a random name with absolutely no context and no real value to it, but like, let's say MMA, for example, right? Let's say MMA has never seen a cheese in his life. Best macro player in the universe. The only Terran player who can pull off like 5 attacks at the same time and be victorious in every location. If he doesn't know how cheese works, he's going to lose to it in the early game every single time. Same kind of concept goes for versus mech. There's so few Terran players who play mech in general, much less an even rarer percentage that ever plays mech versus Protoss. So I guarantee you Starnan doesn't exactly have a whole wealth of knowledge of dealing with mech in his back pocket. Now, he's an intelligent guy, and he's been around StarCraft 2, he's been around the block. I'm sure that had he realized that was mech sooner and properly analyzed the composition that was coming his way, we would have seen a different composition. He could blindly go into more air, which would have been really devastating to deal with. Vikings are fun, but let's be honest, late game, they kind of wear off very quickly. Immortals, perhaps en masse, 5th, 4th bases, lots of what ifs. What if for this game, though, is what if he scouts? What if he reads what's going on? And we'll see if he can handle Lillekanin a little bit better. Take off the kid gloves. Slap this guy around a little. It's a little rabbit. Actually, someone tweeted me saying, like, did you know it meant, like, little rabbit? There's so much debate around that. It's hilarious. First off, I did know, because I've known Lillekanin for a bit of time, but first step for me was learning how to pronounce his freaking name. Second was trying to learn the definition of it, because everybody said it stood for little something different. Like, little rabbit, little prairie dog, little bunny, I don't know. Like, it was just, well, I guess rabbits and bunnies are the same thing. But it was a whirlwind of emotions learning about this guy. Stupid name. But the Hellions come out once again. Well, I shouldn't say once again. These are not your regular Hellions, but this is a little abnormal. This is a strategy that works versus Terran. We saw it earlier today. You'll see it once again. You've seen it in the past if you've seen Lillekanin. And here's the problem for Protoss. In the early game, they don't have a lot that deals with as well. What do? Put a Zealot down to a wall? Just kidding. The bonus damage versus light tears through Zealots. What do? Make 3 Stalkers to trace them around? Well, you just invested a lot of money to do very little against Hellions, as Stalkers, of course, don't have bonus damage versus light units, which Hellions are. And let's not forget the Mothership Core. Best case scenario, pops off an overcharge. That means the medevac just picks up and boosts out. There's a lot of really bad ways to handle this. We'll see if Starnan can find the best way to handle this, because it will be 4 Hellions elevated up to the main. Now, the first thing he's done that is, I think, the biggest deal, he's got vision. He may just see this coming. The Mothership Core on patrol won't be caught by the fog of war unless, oh god, it leaves. Please don't leave. The awkward follow-up of the Banshee. Something that, if scouted, I don't know he can necessarily deal with, but there is some dead space in the main right now. Starnan's putting a pylon or 2 down, but look at all this area these Hellions are going to unload in, and it's not going to be a problem. I think Lillekanin knows the path less traveled. So he's just going to boost around everything here. Kind of wish he would have just unloaded in the dark. I guess he was a little bit afraid of sentries, I imagine, but line them up. Probe's starting to run away.
First blood.
Oh, they stack on top of that mineral line, but he just barely can't get through the Stalkers. The body block on the Stalkers is perhaps the best thing that went on, but the probe control out of poor Starnan right now. Gonna cost him 8 workers here in total. If he kills the medevac, that's great. He is gonna kill the medevac. So this makes it all the worthwhile. He unloads the Hellion, actually, to maybe get one with blast off, but none of the probes are low enough. If you get the medevac out of that alive, you're actually in really good shape because you come back for round 2. Sadly, that's not going to be the case. But as a Banshee flies to the main, Starnan may pull the probes out. He may go for the natural, and if that's the case, there'll be 3 or 4 Hellions waiting for them at the natural base. So while the overcharge was nice, and while the defense is good, it's for now. We'll see if the follow-up's alright. There's some observers coming out to play, so the cloak for the Banshee shouldn't be game-ending. In fact, it's actually not going to be here on time. One singular Hellion will find his way to the back of the base. So we'll disrupt the mining here for a moment. Starting to get a little bit paranoid. But the Banshee gonna wrap around, and Lillekanin's taking a natural base with this one on. He's got siege tanks, he's defending up right now. It's kind of that very common, very old saying. We've all heard it before. If you've ever been in any form of media, the best defense is a great offense, and by having the Banshee even just posture over on this side of the map, that's 3 stalkers that aren't going across the map. That's 3 stalkers that aren't blink all inning you on Frost. Hellion comes by for another drive-by. Takes 3 shots from a Hellion to kill a probe. Not really worth it there. The Banshee actually disengages, but with another overcharge popped, that's 1 less recall. That's 1 less of 2 devastating time warps. And Lillekanin's going to push with a small marine tank force. He did retain the Banshee, I guess, so he's got that much going for him, but this will be scouted by the Observer on the way, I imagine. I shall have 2 Banshees going for him. So between 2 Banshees and 2 tanks, he's actually going to have a freaking lot of DPS. And what does Starnan have? Well, he's got Immortals coming out, but those won't be a problem for the Banshees, as long as they're zoned out, or as long as the Stalkers are zoned out by those tanks. God, there's so much what-ifs that go on here, and one of the biggest ones, of course, is positioning, more than anything else. Trying to get in a spot where maybe not everything can hit you, where you got a little bit of buffer room, and you can use range entirely to your advantage. For Lillekanin, well, not going to have the element of surprise. Got that much down pat. Banshee's too cloak, but the Observer revealed, will he scan for it? If he does, I think that would be a really big deal, honestly. But the SVs here in the front line are not meant to really soak the hits. They're meant to actually be pulled to do repairs. However, no repairs really going down, and the Zealots are chewing through the skin of these tanks, of these Marines. But the Immortals go down. 1 more pops out, but the Banshees don't really have an answer. 3 Stalkers! 3 Stalkers are going to be problematic. 2 bunkers on the way. What on earth is happening here with compositions from these guys? Who cares? Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Siege tanks are going to do a nice little bit of zoning, but as the bunkers come down, it limits the area for the Zealots to necessarily charge in, for the Stalkers to blink forward. And we're going to have more and more units start cropping up here. I wonder if this is a situation where you try and leapfrog the bunkers forward. I would imagine not. Bunker's going to so fast to Immortals. I mean, 50 damage a shot, 1.45 seconds. That is really fast. That Stalker also went down really fast. This bunker is in range of the Nexus by the looks of it. An overcharge gets popped, and these bunkers are in range, but it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Moving the tank, though, that is kind of a big deal. This is a very important unit not to lose. A lot of the SVs went down too, so he doesn't have a lot behind it. If he can get this Nexus, I truthfully don't know if he can get this Nexus, but if he can, that's going to be huge. The overcharge has got to be wearing off soon. That bunker is going to fall, sadly, by the looks of it. Getting it up was really difficult. It's the only one in range of the Nexus, but it's so low. It's going to take 1 bad engagement to allow him to break the lines and push that Nexus down, but as the Immortals start going, the tanks are holding pretty well in the back end. There's not a lot more here to buffer. Sadly, the Banshee's also starting to go out. I think Lillekanin's been broken on the front lines, and it's worth noting, this was kind of all in. No upgrades behind us, no 3rd base on the way. Bunker's also going to fall. There's a huge amount of resources lost in this attack, and Lillekanin, while not devastatingly out of this game, is really far behind. Oh, the Dark Shrine. Oh, the Dark Shrine is such a nasty thing to see in that production tab. And of course, for Lillekanin, he's been spamming those mules like crazy. No energy to save for those scans, because why not? He's burned like 1 or 2 and seen what he thought he needed to see, but of course, with the DTs on the way, turrets might be in order. Scans to pick off the Observer there. Nice little catch with his eyes. He does not see the Dark Shrine, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yeah, no sign of the Dark Shrine. Sorry guys, one sec. I gotta make sure I don't fall asleep at this point. Not because these guys are uninteresting or anything, I'm just bushed. I think it's the, the way I want to phrase that. Bottom portion of the map, Banshee is going to be chased off once again. Lillekanin with a Infernal Prey Igniter. Oh my god, guys. My brain doesn't work anymore. Go fuck a booga booga. There is no ghost in play right now. Defending, not going to be easy. But there's also only one immortal is the big scary thing. Actually, I take that back. Here we're loading the Warp Prism. DTs start warping on top of this, and Lillekanin is about to feel chaos ensue. He's got a couple scans available to him. He has to kill these DTs in the scans. He doesn't have any turrets. He certainly does not have any Ravens. Unsiege tanks. Do some pretty nice damage. Marines will help on top of this, but the DT needs to be scanned and will be scanned to be picked off. But that's not the last of the DTs. No siree, not anytime soon. Banshee coming for the back end. Ooh, gotta be careful with that cloak. There are observers nearby. He'll realize this, of course, in moments damage. The unit actually blows up to smithereens. Bottom right slows that starport is still pumping units like crazy. I really like the choice of the Raven. Point defense drones, seeker missiles. It's really rare that you'll use the seeker missile effectively, but it does, again, pierce the hardened shield. It's a spell effect, not an actual damage dealer. But might not matter. The Immortal with no health busts through both of those tanks and breaks the front lines. Lillekanin now forced to go for a counterattack. Banshees, once again, the DPS is fantastic, but the Immortal hardened shield just a little bit better. This Raven is going to die. Oh, that was not so Raven. Starport's still producing units on the side of the map, but he's learned not to rally them back home. Almost gets the Warp Prism. That would have been a really nice pickoff, but there's not a single Viking available. Scans, because maybe thinking there's DTs. Not the case, of course, but as he picks off these missile turrets, oh my god, my brain is reaching for words, and it's just like it's out of grasp. With the missile turrets having been focused down, that means DTs could have possibly run wild. Like the choice to just go for the scan. Keep it safe, play it blind, you never quite know. Trying to assess the situation right now, guys. One thing we do need to draw attention of is neither of these players really have a lot of upgrades going for them. I don't know the breakdown for mech on how important the upgrades are as far as upgrades, weapons versus armor, but that blue flame needed to be done for this fight. Zealots soak a lot of that damage. Tanks don't try to push forward, but those immortals, there's always one immortal with almost no health standing, will be pushed back by the Hellbats, by the lack of high ground vision. The Banshee's also being chased enough towards that Warp Prism. Oh god, that Warp Prism, if you just get rid of it, would solve so many problems. But he holds. Granted, barely, but he holds. The difference is last time we saw this, it was Starnan who was beaten back to one base, and Lillekanin had the entire map. A small bit of a role reversal right now on 3 bases happily, and Lillekanin, well, he's going to try and take a third. I don't know if he'll be able to get a third, though. Is Rifkin high? No. Rifkin is incredibly tired. This is like 14 hours casting here, bros and brotatas. But I do it for you! Anyways, the Templar being warped in actually have a really nice role. While Storms aren't ready and charged, he does have them available. But more importantly than that, feedbacks. You see a Raven? Feedback. You see a Banshee? Feedback. Easiest way to kill those units. You know, this is a game for WCG Canada. It was not the finals, I think the semifinals. I watched the worst PvT I've ever seen in my life. It was another mech game. It was one of the rarer mech games. And we had Starnan, the Protoss player in Starnan's position kept making tons of immortals like he is, but he never invested in stalkers or air or anything. And our Terran player in that position had just gone pure Hellbats and tanks. Even though the immortals were out, he was still going tanks. And it was, oh god, it was like Acheron Waste, and it was this perpetual 40-minute back and forth. The Immortals couldn't kill the Hellbats couldn't catch the Immortals. It was this really stupid kiting game that just went on for what felt like an age and a half, an eon. Oh, nice little position here. With the pylon going down, that'll depower the cannon, also deactivate the detection. But the observers here, so that's not a problem. But anyways, the point I bring up, the whole reason this is a cool story, Rifkin, is the Hellbats are a force to be reckoned with. They splash pretty hardcore. Their damage is really high. If they can get on top of anything, chances are something's going to die. Blue Flame or not. Even the Stalkers, as we see, going down here, more so to everything else but the Banshee. The Archon, still, let's not forget, will dish a lot of damage, and this is looking pretty rough. There's nothing to cover the tanks. The Immortals get on top of this. GG is going to be called. Lillekanin will go down in game number 2, allowing Starnan to tie the series up now 1-1.